Welcome to this video, where we will talk about the movie Fast and Furious 6. We will begin by exploring the movie's storyline, summarizing its plot, and discuss the cast and characters. Then we will take a closer look at the film production details and box office performance. Finally, we will share review and audience reaction to give you a well-rounded perspective. Let's get started. Fast and Furious 6 show off the franchise metal. After more than a decade, Universal's Fast and Furious franchise has proven itself a convention-defined force to be re-knocked with at the box office, with the series' sixth installment collection north of $300 million globally opening weekend. Fast and Furious 6 followed Memorial Day weekend box office to record setting highest grossing a receive estimate $120 million in 4 days, all while competing directly with the War Bros. Opener The Hangover Part 3, which underperformed with $51.2 million through Monday, peak grossed $63 million in 5 days. The holiday weekend, which totaled more than $300 million for the first time ever, was boosted by Fox 3D Tune Epic, overperforming with a 4 day estimate of $42.6 million. The film, which has grossed $44 million internationally in 2 weeks, played to a family market that has been underserved for the nearly 3 months. For an original content animated film, this is a terrifying start, said Fox distribution chief Charis Aronson. Plus, we are moving into the strong midweek days of the summer. Fast and Furious 6 ranks as the fourth highest Memorial Day weekend opener behind Pirates of the Caribbean, Edward and $139.8 million. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, $126.9 million, and X-Men: The Last Stand, $122.9 million. Intriguingly, through the Fast franchise, which has now amassed $1.8 million in worldwide BO receipts would not seem to have the same. Receipts would not seem to have the same pull with the families. Yet the film's opening suggests it does. Also, Soul State Diets holdovers included Paramount's Star Trek Into the Darkness, which grossed $47 million through Monday, and Destiny Marvel Iron Man 3 with the $24.4 million. Star Trek reached $155.8 million after its second film. Iron Man meanwhile grossed $370 million in its fourth. Internationally, Fast and Furious 6 donated a BOFO $160.3 million from 59 territories, making its Universal biggest opening weekend overseas, larger than 2011. Fast 5 ate $125 million so far. Fast 6 has donated $197 million overseas, included the UK where the film posed last weekend. In Blindly, The Hangover bought at number 1. The Hangover bought at number 1 with $9.2 million, while Australia and the New Zealand contribute a combined $10 million. Warner expand the film to most every other market over the next few weeks. Fast and defined. The $160 million franchise 6-speed defined box office conventions, meaning to overperform with The Hangover 3, also targeting young males. With the head-to-head showdown, Fast certainly proved it's the metal and they showed no sign of the franchise fighting. Lucky for Universal since it's already dated Fast and the Furious 7 for 11 July 2014. In Blighty, The Hangover bowed at number 1 with $9.2 million, while Australia and the New Zealand contribute a compound $10 million. Warner expand the film to most every other market over the next few weeks. Fast and the Fighting The 160 million franchise 6P defined box office conversations, managing to overperform with The Hangover 3, also targeting young males with the head-to-head showdown far certainly prove its mettle and the show no sign of the franchise fighting. Lucky for Universal since it's already dated Fast and Furious 7 for 11 July 2014. Fast and defined. The 160 million franchise 6P defined box office conversation meaning to overperform with The Hangover 3 also targeting young males with the head-to-head showdown far certainly prove its mettle and show no sign of the franchise fighting. Lucky for Universal since it's already dated Fast and Furious 7 for 11 July 2014. It just proves there is an expectation to every rule, said one rival studio distribution axis. The franchise playability has grown exponentially, especially overseas, since the first film Bow in 2001. First 5 and $460 million overseas, doubling the next highest grossing installment 2009 Fast and Furious with $2008 million. Everybody efforts to keep their figure on the plus upward. The hell is going on with these franchises where Panama Universal Distribution Praxi Nika Rocco told Variety. She added that the film play extraordinary while throughout the South and across the Midwest, with the happening odds contributing 32% of the opening. Fast 6 opened at number 1 in every market this weekend. The film top overseas territory Russian contribute $17.8 million. Mexico, Germany, and the France follow, all the grossing north of $10 million each in 3 days. A midnight hit. Sony Picture Classical India 3 Coil Before Midnight scored a healthy 4-day per screen average of $64,383 from 5 locations. The film starring Ethan Hawke and the Julia Dipley estimated 321,914 through. A midnight hit. Sony Picture Classic India 3 Coil Before Midnight scored a healthy 4-day per screen average of 64,383 from 5 locations. The film starring Ethan Hawke and the Julia Dipley estimated 3,021,940 through the Monday. Meanwhile, roads out attraction, Southern coming of age fable, mood continued to lag out nicely with a stateside comes of the $15 million. The film grossed $2.4 million in 4 days from the 712 locations, down from the 916 last weekend. Film week in release, 4 days gross, 3 days gross, location per thread, average comes percentage change. Fast and the Furious 6, $120.0, 3,658, 32,805, $32,805, $120.0. Fast and Furious 6 drives record-breaking box office haul. Los Angeles Fast and Furious 6 recorded to the top of a record-breaking weekend at North American movie theaters, and the sixth installment in the street recycling franchise also delivered a turbocharged performance overseas. The film debuted atop the holiday weekend box office collection, 117 million domestically and 158 million internationally, the biggest opening yet for a Universal Picture release. Ticket sales over the 4-day weekend also set a Memorial Day record with the $340.2 million. This just obliterated the 2011 record, which was $276.75 million, said box office analyst Paul Dragbedin of the Holiday.com. More than a third of the take belonged to the Fast and Furious 6, which star Vin Denzel, Paul Walker, Michael Rodriguez. More than a third of take belonged to Fast and Furious 6, which star Vin Denzel, Paul Walker, Michael Rodriguez and the Diana Johnson, along with an international sporting cast. The film followed the Muscles car crew as they joined with the police in a worldwide hunt for a terrorist, belting a plan and a thing along the way. It's amazing how this franchise was to consider all but dead after the third film, but the filmmakers and the studio did a great job of the convincing the original cast member to come back, giving it a different feel and the really expanding its scope. Said Deva Kaigar, chief the cross-bandit for movie site Friendigo.com. The film international cast and setting also contributed to its appeal. It's no coincidence that the movie takes place overseas, Kargar said. That was, I am sure, a very calculated decision. Nikki Rocco, Universal head of the distribution, attributes the success of the Fast Six to its the broadening and scope. It's so much more than what it was, she said. You have to give credit to all of us and the filmmakers for taking it to the next level. Though a proven box office winner, with its sixth film ultimately collections $1.9 million so far, the Fast Furious series has not quite reached the level of other powerhouse action franchises such as the Harry Potter, Transformers, and the Iron Man. The five-parter film has earned $7.7 billion worldwide. The three Transformers film have a worldwide gross of $2.67 billion. The third Iron Man film was released last month and the franchise has climbed 2.36 billion worldwide so far. Yet Geiger notes the success of Fast and the Furious is pretty remarkable considering the franchise was kind of the created out of thin air 12 years ago. A recent Frandico survey shows that 93% of the Fast 6 ticket buyers are already anticipating the seventh installment set to star Jason Statham. The top 20 movies at the USA and the Canadian theaters Friday through the Monday followed by distribution studio gross. The top 20s movie at the USA and the Canadian theaters Friday through Monday, followed by distribution studio gross number of the theater locations average, receptive per location total gross and the number of weeks in release as the complete Thursday by the Hollywood.com are. Telegraphy Fast and Furious 6 at the top of the box office. Fast and Furious 6 has taken the head of the top list of the Movie Watch American film after earning $98.5 million during this weekend. The action film starring Vin Diesel and the Diana Johnson beat Bradley Cooper comedy The Hangover Part 3, which the placed second with $42.4 million. Star Trek Into the Darkness with third with $38 million, while the animated film Epic, featuring the voice of Beyonce and the Pitbull, was the fourth with $34.2 billion. Iron Man 3 closed the top 5 most watchable movie of the weekend in the USA Telegraph. Fast and the Furious 6 box office fast and the being highest grossing F&F film to the grossing MCU Thor's The Dark World. After storming the worldwide box office with the Fast 5 in 2011, the mark of Fast and the Furious came up with its sixth installment in 2013. Fast and Furious 6 was expected to set new benchmark for the franchise and that what it did. Justin Lin continued to help the super successful franchise as a director. The film had Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Diana Johnson, Jorana Brewster, Michael Rodriguez, and the Trias Gibson in lead among others. Justin Lin continued to help them the super successful franchise as a director. The film had Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Diana Johnson, Jordana Bristles, Michael Grignites, and the Trice Gleebsons in lead among others. Let's have a look at some of the interesting box office facts about the film. When it's come to Hollywood, don't we just love watching our favorite fictional hero in a prequel or the sequel? Well, that's exactly the charm of the franchise film. After all, why should the freedom just stop at one film, right? Cinema has presented us with the countless movie franchises that make us wait for the next film like it's the most important things of our lives. Be it the sequel, paracles, a spin-off, or a reboot, franchises have hooked us to our screen in the ways we could have never even have imagined. So without any further ado, here are 5 franchises that you can start watching to expense a journey that's far longer than one movie. James Beyond 24 films over a 58 years legacy with the 25 movie just a few months away. If we were ever talking about one of the most popular movie franchises that makes cinephiles go crazy, James Bond Survival has to be at the very top of that list. Be it Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Harrison Brosnan, or the super survival Daniel carrying a James Bond movie. 24 films over a 58 years legacy with the 25 movie just a few months away. If we were ever talking about one of the most popular movie franchises that makes cinephiles go crazy, James Bond Survival has to be at the very top of that list. Be it Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Parasite Brosnan, or the super survived Daniel Craig, a James Bond movie never fails to keep one at the edge of their seats for more than just a British secret agents. 007 is all things kickies and the classy with chases, sequence, evil villains and the exciting locations. Don't we just love watching the man in a dapper suit coming out of this Australian Martin to slip a vodka Martin that's shaken and not tried? Oh yes, we do. After 5 long years, we will get to see the 25 film in the franchise, featuring the beloved Daniel Craig one last time his November as he starred in No Time to Die. Safe to say the excitement is the unreal. While we read about these creatures in our history books, it was the stellar director Stephen Spielberg who immersed us in the world of the dinosaurs with the 1993 film Jurassic Park that was based on the Michael Crichton book by the same name. But follow after that were followable film that the look us to the patriotic area of these creatures. Fans of the franchise are in for a treat as the Jurassic World Dimension hits screen next year, with the marks revealing that the film won't be the final film in the franchise. We can't wait to see what lies in the story with the Furious film. Fast and Furious 6 has reached to the number one spot at the box office for the second conversation weekend. The Universal Picture release is expected to add another $34.5 million to its North American ticket sales, keeping in its first place after opening to more than $120 million over the Memorial Day holiday weekend. Box office analyst Paul Dara Gibeon said the sixth installment in the state reacting franchise was Parodian to be number one again, but in a season of the sequel, 3 original films were among the most popular at the cinemas over the weekend. Ordinary Summer and the sequel go together, he said. This is a step in the direction of the originally. Among the new original offering was the Magic Heist thriller Now You See Me, which star Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, and Woody Harrelson in a tale of the elevations for rob bank and share this ball with their audience. The long stage Summit Entertainment release executed industry expectations to debut in second place with the $28.1 million. It certainly has been magic for us to watch the number this weekend, said Richard Fabe, Lawrence Great, president of the domestic distributions, who attributes the film's success to a brilliant market campaign and the positive word of mouth. After Earth, the Frosted Capper starting father and the son acting due Will Smith and the Jaden Smith open to $27 million, good for the third place but still disappointed for the Sony picture. It's below our expectations there domestically, said Rory Burr, Sony president of the worldwide distribution, but the anticipated it will play well overseas. We feel very good about the potential of the film on a worldwide basis, he said. It will open 16 countries next week. Fox animated epic and the Paramount Star Trek Into the Darkness tied for fifth place, $60.4 million each, while The Hangover Part 3 came in the fifth with $50.9 million, along added into the top 10 years along ending into the top 10 was the Indian film Ye Jawani Hai Diwani. It's open in 162 theaters in the United States and the Canada Friday and earned $1.6 million, good for the 8th place. It's very usual that the Bollywood films sometimes into the top 20 or top 15 domestically. The Guardian said they are usually not in that many theaters, but they make a big splash. A statement ticket sales for Friday through Sunday at the USA and the Canadian theaters, according to Hollywood.com, where available latest international numbers are also included. Final domestic figures will be released Monday. Fast and Furious 6 2013 Throwback Review. This should come as a surprise to anyone, but why does every time I see one of these movies I wanna drive a fast car so bad? Probably because I did not have that much money to own a luxurious vehicles and you are always waiting to drive at a normal speed while on the road. Sure, Fast and the Furious 6 Immortals, you do not do the stunt on the your own, but it's just a cool throwout. Was the story following their successful heist in the Rio domestic dome? Territorio, Vine Diesel, Brand O'Connor, Paul Walker, and the rest of the team are living their lives in the freedom around the world, especially for Brian and Mia. Leonardo Brissett as the We Welcome a Son. But when a team of the Masonry drives, led by Onsha, Lucky, Ivan, and Dom presume, and the rest of the team are living their lives in the freedom around the world, especially for Brian and Mia, as they will welcome a son. But when the team of the McKinney drivers, led by Onsha, and the Dom's presumed dead girlfriend, Letty Cortez, as one of his members is the cash stealing weapons part that are the worth billion. Agent Luke's Hobbs tracks down Dom to get his team together once again to bring Shah, doing exchange for the full paradown for all of them. Fast and Furious 6 steals back in 2013. I could not believe we were up to 6 movie in the Fast and the Furious series. Crazy right, crazy right. After the last installment, Fast 5, come out, nobody expected it to be the most entertainment sequel since it did the interior state, raking except and focus on the action with these establishment characters we have gone to care about and the some things was telling me I was going to have a good time watching these scenes. It was the Friday afternoon opening day after passing my English final and they needed to celebrate with the many Teletron it wants to promise. Testatron it wants to promise. Not only that, but this was the third sequel. We are already getting a strong start of the summer movie season following Iron Man 3 and the Star Trek Into the Darkness, knowing exactly what it is without certain to those who accepted Shakespeare quality. Fast and the Furious 6 just know how to place it the Furious. It's another movie where director Justin Lin and the screenwriter Caris Morgan change it up. This time where it's going to be more of an the adventure for the team where the stakes are even higher to top what they brought before, with a plot about finding the bad guy to find. It's another movie where director Jason Line and the screenwriter Carison Morgan change it up. This time where it's going to be more of an adventure for the team where slacks are even higher to top what they brought before. But a plot about finding the bad guy to find a computer chip or something. Let's be honest and say it not the most interesting things in the world to pay attention to. A whole new level. They never thought they would be doing Where it's not on, they might be paired. But when it's the bring someone home, they're not going back. Not everyone goes into these movies expecting to get a perform plot. It also play on the tropes, on how the person hunting after our heroes need to work together that we have seen time before, where it's now about trust. Now they are going up against a crew more series than they are like before. Line still does an excellent job at the directing, where he knows how to capture with the cool stunt and all while still contributed in crying for the characters and the story too. I know the acting is not particularly the first instant when going into these films, but know then that as the many claim to be mostly the same actors previously and the everybody has great chemistry with the each other making. I know the acting is not particularly the film instant when going into this film, but not that bad as many claim to be mostly the same actor from the previously and everybody has great chemistry with the each other, making it the believable that they are family more than a team. The progression of a friendship between Vine Denzel and the pure Walker is the getting better with each passing with the each passing film with that ride or die mentally, which makes their performance survivable without judging to the harshly. It was also great seeing Michael Rodden back again in the little scenes. She did not do much in the first and the fourth movie, but she gets more screen time and explain her reasons, her reasoning on how she alive even if she does not remember who Dom is. And what can't I say about Diana Johnson? He saved the last movie with his inclusion as the hobbies and his skill. It again when we see more of him, you already know what you are going to get from the Jordan Braithwaite, Trice Gabby Son, Lodarius Sang Kang, and the Gal Gadot when getting more into the action this time around. Luke, even as the film villain, Honor Shah was not that bad either since managed to be more interesting than the Trice Gabby Son, Lodarius Sung Kang, and the Gally Gadot. When getting more into the action this time around, Luca, even as the film villain on Shake, was not that bad either since he managed to be more interesting than the kidnapping in the fifth movie since he know he can best Dom and his team with the code embodied by them that makes them predictable. But if you thought the action in the Fast Five was cool, it was the line mission to make it bigger and the better. And Fast and Furious 6 no went up the ante and they needed to accomplishment the primary goal. All you needed to know in you going to get your car chases and the fightings that I will more likely get you pumped. They filmed the car chases and the other action scenes with the particle effects once again was the incredible and the over the top 5 ever. Set pieces was just too awesome just to figure out how they did that. Effect once again was incredible and the over the top. Every set pieces was just too awesome just to find out how they did that. And yes, it's totally ridiculous to the point of the suspending disbelief. But it's the sixth movie. What can you accept? There are sequences involving Frank on a highway that's destroying every car inside, which follow up with an acceleratory climbs taking place on a long runway inside and the outside the place before it takes off. Right there was executing to watch throughout, but all I keep things about you porn are rewatching and everyone has the same throughout it, wondering how ridiculously long the runway strip is because the sequence runs about 10 minutes long. When it has problem, though it's that the packing in the middle tends to drag it down, where there are time to breathe everything in. The humor surprisingly worked because some scenes had me laughing occasionally, especially from Kirsten Gabison and the Lodarius, but I can see where some of the jokes would not land with the most people. The action sequence does some things make you think, oh, to where you do not want your brain to all physics performance on how everything was planned out, knowing full well that would not happen in real life. To be fair, they somehow the biggest scenes in their trailer, which was the bummer. But this movie, no. that is there for fun and not to be taken seriously. They already had plans for the Furious 7 before this came out and it go me executed, especially during its the mid-credit scene. I was not expecting to find a twist in the timeline with one of the previous film and the made for my favorite mid-credit moment of the year. The sixth installment probably does not get much attention as opposite to the other recent addition over the past few years, but this is certainly one of the better Fast and the Furious movie that easily in the top 5 when discussing the cast franchise as a whole. Final thought Fast and Furious 6 high occasion action and it's the continue of turning the franchise around makes for a fun summer popcorn sequel as great as its presenter, not quite scenes. It's not the most extraordinary plot around or the kind of the dialogues that the internally smart, but the episode right. There is the still entertaining follow up to please fans all around. Fast and Furious 6 movie review. Okay, movie watchers, Van Diesel, Pure Walker, and the Rock fans, if you have not yet seen Fast and Furious 6 because you are not sure about it, here it is my review of this film so that hopefully it can help you determine whether or not you want to see it. About Fast and Furious 6. Fast and Furious 6 brings back the interior family from the original Fast and Furious film, with the addition of the Diana The Rock Johnson, who reprised his role of the DSS agent Luke Hobbs, the film begins by giving us a glimpse into the ever-growing family with the Brain O'Connor and his wife Mia on their way into the hospital to give birth to their son, accompanied by Dom Toretto. Meanwhile, Hobbs and his parents' railway are invitations of former military special forces officers gone rogue named the Onsha. Hobbs realizes that they need help and he returns to Dom and his retired crew for the help. Dom is reluctant until Hobbs reveals a series of the pictures that show Letty Kurtz believes to be dead is still alive and working with the show. Otis is the Dom old girlfriend. This sits in the motion. This sits in the emotions a thrill ride that the garbage hold. This sits in the emotions a thrill ride that the garbage hold of you and just will not let go. My thoughts, except plenty of the action and adventures, high-speed car chases and the race crashes and the fight scenes, just like all the other Fast and Furious films. This one has plenty of the each. There are also moments of the emotion that comes through in this movie as well. Although they are not overly emotional, so guys will still really enjoy this film. There is an also unexpected little twist except plenty of the action and adventure high-speed car chases and the recase, crashes and the fight scenes, just like all the other Fast and the Furious film. This one has plenty of the each. There are also moments of the emotions that come through in this movie as well. Although they are not overly emotional, so guys will still really enjoy this film. There is also an unexpected little twist that happens later in the film. I won't play spoiler and reveal it, but suffice to say it is a little shocking. Hint, don't skip the credits or you will miss something big. Just like the other Fast and Furious films, some of the action sequence involves some unbelievable stunt that to me is a bit of a drawback, especially when they are pretend to the storyline, but a lot of the people seems to enjoy those outrageous stunts. I feel the fight scenes are the incredible though. So what did I rate Fast and Furious 6? Overall, I give this film 4.5 star out of 5. It is easily the best of the interior Fast and the Furious series. That say a lot. I have seen all of them and I have also loved them all. So stop wasting time and go see it today. Do you plan on the seeing Fast and Furious 6 or have you already seen it? If so, please share your opinion below. Fast and Furious 6 movie review. The entirety of the Fast and the Furious franchise is something that I have a great fondness for. The first film in the series got me hooked and it helped me to love every new character thus far. I can still remember back to where my friend Brand loaned me his copy of The Fast and The Furious on the DVD and told me that it is a something I had thoroughly enjoyed. Now, not being a car guy or even a big movie fantastic at the time, I simply took his word for it and popped it into my DVD player. To my delights, the film took a financial yet based in the fact look into the city untriable of the illegal state reacting that I was completely unaware of. From the first race between Dominic and the Brain O'Connor to the astounding last race where Dom car goes sailing through the sky right after jumping in front of a sending train. I simply could not believe what I had just watched. This film had everything I wanted and more. More or less action, cool down to earth characters and fast ticket out cars. Fast forward almost 12 years later and we get the latest additions to the franchise, Fast and Furious 6, which is directed by Justin Lin, director of the last three films as well. Thrilling for nice and the character-packed chapter in the series so far. The plot carries over from the setting of the last film where you find out that the characters of the Letty is not actually dead. Luke Hobby finds Tom and they ask him to get his team back together in order to go a foreman named On Shah, who is believed is behind an attack on a Russian military convoy using the larger that latterly is now alive and a part of the show crew. Hobbs is always convinced Tom to team up and go after Shaw. From that point on, the film turns into a series of the big action set pieces that not only include street races and other car related events, but also numerous hand to hand fights. The addition of the hobbyist new partner Rayleigh to the cast is very welcome as it inserts more female talented on screen with such a male dominated franchise. She is able to perform some of her UFC movie in the most memorable brawl within the film as she and Letty go to in an insane show of the female brutality. The title of the film says it all. This is the most thrilling, fun, nice, and the character-packed chapter in the series so far. The plot career over from the setting of the last film where you find out that the characters of the lady is not actually dead. Luke Hobbs finds Dom and asks him to get his team in order to go after a man named On Shah, who he believes is behind an attack on a Russian military convoy. Using the leverage that lady is now alive and a part of the show crew, Hobbs is able to convince Tom to team up and go after Shah. From that point on, the film turns into a series of the big action set pieces that not only included stud races and the other car related events, but also numerous hand to hand fights. The addition of the hobby's new partner Railway to the cast is very welcome as it inserts more female talented on screen within such a male dominated franchise. She is able to perform some of her UFC movie in the most memorable rival within the film as she and the lady go to in an insane show of female brutality. Like all the films, the story is definitely there, but it takes a based on the shocking value that are seen on screen. Both people and the cars fly through the air. Characters exchange gunfire in vast amounts, and the explosive rock the frame in the almost and the atomic detonation sort of way. This is a film where practical effects outweigh digital ones in a colossal manner, and by doing so helps to enjoy the viewer such more substantially than the CGI ridden film as of late. You cannot with the characters on screen much more because you know that an actual person is risking their life to perform such a heartbreaking stunt instead of a computer created image. That being said, the action is top notch, but that ultimately can fix the third part of the film being filled with many plot holes and the gaps in the logic. I understand that this is an action film first and the foremost, but when a plane leading stripe scenes take around 10 minutes, the plan is the constantly movie at high speed and the somehow does not run out of runway within that time. It literally starts to bug me. Not only that, but when characters have and the opportunity to kill the antagonist and there is season that no formats, but when a plane landing stripe scenes take around 10 minutes, then plane is constantly moving at high speed and somehow does not run out of runway within that time. It literally start to bug me. Not only that, but when characters have an opportunity to kill the antagonist and there is no reason they do not. It reminds me of the scene from it reminds me of the scene from the Austin Powers where Dr. Ever decided to put Asians in an easily escapable room where Scott Evil then braced him on way he does not just kill him inside. They may seem like the minor quarrels, but they begin to add up and it reminds me that story is the unfortunately on the back burn for these types of the film. When push comes to shove and the everything comes full circle, I must say that this is the most entertaining film in the franchise up to this point. Adding to that, this is also the most comical addition to the series, with jokes being cracked at the leaves every 5 minutes, which hit their makes nearly every time, even with its the fault. There is a film that the newcomers to the franchise will enjoy and the long-time fans Fast and Furious how guesses could have survived explaining. Realism and the Fast and Furious have not going exactly hand in hand. Dom Territor's crew have jumped out of the skyscrapers, conduct ridiculously hits, and have even driven a car in outer space. Characters have embraced from the impossible situations alive and also been brought back from the dead, included Letty Curtis, Owen Shaw, and the Hand Liu. Fast X has now resorted Gal Gadot characters. Giselle Yasher after she fell to her death in 2013 Fast and Furious 6 deposit having fall from a plane in the middle grass appear Deposit having fallen from a plane in the midair, Gazelle appeared not to have sustained any permanent injuries. She was absent from the third film following Fast and Furious 6 for included Tokyo Drift, during which she was not in contact with the Dom's crew. With her sudden arrival, the Fast and Furious franchise has reminded fans to not overthinking the film and to simply enjoy the ride. But for those who need and the explanations for the Giselle return, here's a look at the how she might have been able to appear in the Fast X. The spin of the film Hobbs and the Sharp introduced superhumans to the world of Fast and Furious back in 2019 after surviving a bullet to the head from the Deckard Sharp. Brixton Laura received combating enhancement and they become a super soldier. He was able to run at the incredible speed, dodged bullets at the point blank range, and the punch through steel without the breaking his hand. The Hobbs and the Shah villain was also bulletproof, leading to his self-assistant alien of the Black Superman, assigned allies of the Black Superman. Gaddish portrayed Wonder Woman in the DCE, but her Fast and Furious characters has always been human. It's possible this has now been reconnected to explain how she survived the events of the Fast and Furious 6. If Geisel has received some dramatic enhancement similar to the has always been human, it's possible this has now been recommended to explain how she survived the events of the Fast and Furious 6. If Giselle had received cybernetic enhancement similar to the Brixton, she easily would have been able to survive her fall. It's also possible she was the recipient of a super soldier serum, which could survive as a plot device in the franchise's final installment. F9 brought Han back from the dead by the recollections his death scenes in the token drive as a setup by Mr. Nobody. What appeared to be Han trapped in a Mazda RX-7 was actually a hologram, with the hologram disappearing moments before the car exploded. The real Han watched from a distance, with Mr. Nobody describing the scene as a pretty nifty magic trick. But rather than renting with the dome crew, he chooses to open the years leading up to F9 working in the shadows. Gizer held hand and the fright again tried before her death in the Fast and Furious 6. So her faking her death using a hologram can be ruled out. With that the being said, she could have used an android that resembled her some things. Giselle's had Hans hand and the fried again rights before her death in the Fast and Furious 6, so her faking her death using a hologram can be ruled out. With that being said, they could have used an route that resembled her something akin to an LMT or life model deco from the Marvel agents of the SHIELD. Vin Diesel has already revealed that a fix and the sequel will delve with the topic of AI, which will be explored through a characters he hopes Robert Downey Jr. will play. Perhaps Grizel was involved with the character's AI projects during her time off screen. The idea that Gizel used an AI to fake her death might sound ridiculously, but her returning after Fast and Furious 6 is even more so. If touch is used to explain how she survived, the franchise might use it to simply bring Gizel back and do nothing with it the afterwards. Hologram would be useful in many different situations, and yet they have never been utilized in the franchise other than to fake their death. The antagonist of Fast and Furious 6, On Cha, was thrown from a movie plane and hit the runway. He suffered serious injuries and was forced to sit out Furious 7, but by the Fast of the Furious, he had recovered. He had recovered and went on to help rescue Dom's son from the chipper. Fast and Furious 11 and 12 could potentially reveal that Gizel, like the On, simply survived and waste no time in trying to make it make sense. What she has been doing in between Fast and Furious 6 and Fast X, and why she never connected Dom crew is the more important than how she is survived. Han was clearly devastated when the geezer died, so he could not have entirely known that she survived the events of Fast and Furious 6. However, he could have learned about her survival at any time afterwards. Han kept his survival a secret from his friends for the survival years, so he likely would have had no problem keeping Giselle's state a secret as well. F9 features a flashback of the Mr. Nobody, implying that he had faked people death beforehand, leaving the door open for one of those people to be the Giselle. At the beginning of Fast X, Roman Ramsey and the Teach Watch as Han used a dating app. He appeared to not be very interesting, which could have been because he knew that Giselle was still. At the beginning of Fast X Man, Ramsey and the Teach Watch as Han used a dating app. He appeared to not be very interesting, which could have been because he knew that the Giselle was still alive, having walked Han and the Giselle work for Mr. Nobody would be the best way of the connecting the two characters after both of their deaths to protect the people around them and to ensure the security of their missions. They may have had little to no control over the years, setting the stage for a senior in the Fast and Furious 11 and 12. Why do Hobbs and the Toretto stand side by side during the final scenes? In the final scenes of the Furious 6, Aka the Fast and the Furious 6 hobbies, Diana the Rock Johnson and the Tareto Vine Diesel enjoy a private moment where they awkward say thank you and express some mutual respect. The blocking where they are standing in this scene seems quite international but very weird. The two muscles bound star don't face and each other. They stand alongside each other but facing in the opposite directions. This gives the scene a super awkward feeling plus creates a weird optical elevations in certain shoots whereby hobbies looks tiny or badly green screen in. Can anyone explain the logic meaning or resounding for this odd blocking moment in an otherwise flawless movie? I see the true inciting event in this story as being the moments when Hobbs approaches Tom with a new job and tells him his girlfriend Letty is still alive. However, the timing is a little early here. Time-wise, the moment when the team assemble and Tom tells Brain about Letty is the turning point in the first act. However, when you have a story which has many primary characters at this one test, there are often quite a few meaning inflecting even as the conflict bumps into one characters after another. First plot points. The team imagines the master villain Saw for the first time, but ends up losing him. Dom finds Letty only to have her shoot him. The tangles with the show all thought obviously the first plot points is not a great example in itself of the characters living their first act normal would, but Dom getting shoot often by the woman he loves is a great moment that decide backups the action and the forces the character into uncharacter's territory. First pinch point survival of the Dom team members engage literally and Shortman. Dom's team is battened soundly and the Letty escape. This does a nice job. This does a nice job of the impacting both the physical and the personal stakes. The plot runs thanks to the new information picked up during these scenes included Shah works with the Doms or drugs running enemy brags. Midpoint in many ways the scene in the witch brain inflating the American person to talk to Berg and in which Berg tells him Letty has the enemies is set up to be the midpoint elevation. As such, it's a poor one, since the information is new to brain but not to the audience. The following stamps scenes in which Tom and the Letty states is much better. It does not offer much new information either, but at least it moves the plot by showing the effect of the Letty enemies on both her and the Tom. Second pitch point. Shah falls Tom and the co by going after the military convoy that is moving the computer pieces he needs inside of feeding the base as expected from her on out. It's action all the way, which definitely sets up the third plot point. Third plot point after being captured, fall scenes of the victory for the protagonist. Shaw negotiates his own release by revealing he has kidnapped my Dom sister and the brain wife. Third plot point after being captured, fall scenes of the victory for the protagonist. His own release by revealing he has kidnapping Mia Dom's sister and the brain wife. This naturally forces the characters into a place where the personal stakes are sky high. Climax, the packing is very tight between the third plot point and the turning points into the climax. Almost immediately the characters rush to inflating the plan on which Shah is escaping with. Climax moment. The plan crashes and the Shah dies and miraculously Dom miraculously walk away with the computer pieces Shah wanted. Revelations, Hobbies crew, paradons for the everyone so they can go home. Dom's interim girlfriend 11 walks away so he can start over with the Letty. Fast and Furious 6 spoiler ending. So you have just finished watching Fast and Furious 6. You have seen planes and the tanks and the fly spear and the pure Walker alternate. universal girl, clone, and one of the greatest headbuttes in the history of the human heads. You think it's all over, the credit roll, and then they stop rolling. You see a Marasite driving through the streets of the Tokyo. If you are a fan of the franchise, you immediately recognize the significance of the Tokyo setting, and you can guess that we are watching a sequence set during the Fast and the Furious Tokyo trip. If you are a deep fan of the franchise, you recognize the crucial importance of what we are about to see. This is the scene where Sung Kong dies. Han has been alive in the latest few movies constantly. Tokyo Drive, if you are a deep fan of the franchise, you recognize the crucial importance of what we are about to see. This is the scenes where Han Sung Kong dies. Han has been alive in the latest few movies constantly during a movie to Tokyo now. He is finally done it. But there are twists here. In Tokyo Drive, Han was taken away from the Drive King, where he was hit apparently by accident by a missile this time through Wu Si Wu was driving that the Mercedes. And we learned that it was not an accident at all. The man who killed has closed out Fast and Furious 6 by making a phone call to the Dominic Toretto. You don't know me yet, he says, but you will. Perhaps you recognize him. He looks a little bit like this. Yes, the rumors were the true, and the rumors were the awesome. Jason Statham, star of the Transporter Trilogy, star of the Crank Dude. Janwar accredited British person is joined the Fast franchise. Details are scarce about the precious nature of his role in the next installment. Though it does not take a rocket science to guess that Statham is playing the brother of the now dead Aunt Shaw. Shah not ably mentioned a brother in an earlier scene in the Fast 6, the internet has generally agreed to call him an Insha. Lon Shah, all thought clearly benefit. Kimber Shah would be more appropriate. The implications for the future of the franchise are huge. Fast is quickly becoming the news of all modern action movie. Between Trice Gabingson and the Jason Statham, it has colonized that the other two contemporary car franchises, Transformers and the Transporter, will also creating an the incredible link to the Statham other gangs of the hero franchise, the Expendables. The conclusions of the Fast and Furious 6 provide a graceful exit for the director Justin Lin, who joined the franchise with the Tokyo Drift. When asked about the ending by Evie, Lin said, I was very happy with the full Jason Statham of it all. It feels good to be able to hand off on a positive note with the Statham joining the cast. The whole Jason Statham of it all would be a great name for the Statham biography. On a positive note, with the Statham joining the cast, the whole Jason Statham of its all would be a great name for a Statham biography. Like was when we asked Diana Johnson about the possibility of the Luke Hobbs faking off the against the transporter, he said simply the idea of seeing him and myself on screen going at is very interesting and very interesting. Two style had full clients extraordinary well. Then he added less simply, my personal message to that person is pack a lunch because it be an all of in day affair. Presample Fast 7 will be at least Prieta, a vacancy movie as the reminds member of the Toretto gangs come out of retirement to avenge their fallen hand. Unless maybe Brother Shah will be hunting them down, forcing the Toretto tribal to go on the run. Will Statham characters have these own countries of car driving bad bases? Does this mean that there is going to be a climatic fight scenes where Statham and the Diesel and the Johnson have a shirtless, shaved head alive a bicycle duo idly on a Skyping oil tanker that is the exploding. Fellow Fast and the Fantastic. What did you think of the ending? Where does the Statham reveal rank in the history of the post-credit sequel tease? What other contemporary action star would you like to see in the franchise? Melia Joving as a mysterious Eastern European spy with a crazy car. Tony J as a mysterious the criminal with a crazy car. Sean Bean as the Shaw brothers' evil Uncle Bond Shaw. Do they want to go fast? Yes, indeed. Your auto insurance policy probably has clauses specifying whether you are covered by the damage from the missiles, falling objects, your civil war, earthquake has relocations conventions, discharge of a unclear weapon, but it time once again to check that it also addresses whether you are insured against accidentally driving onto the set of a Fast and Furious 6 movie. If you blend into the shooting of Fast and Furious 6, for instance, you are almost surely walking now. If the film you car over speed stator did not work, your vehicles, the gain trunk, surely did. Most of the familiar faces are back for this latest back mild of the raceless driving, included Vin Denzel as a dramatic Taranto. Taranto is realizing in. If you blundered into the shooting of Fast and Furious 6, for instance, you are almost surely walking now. If the film you car over speed steer did not wake you the vehicles, the gain trunk surely did. Most of the familiar faces are back for this latest bankmill of the reckless driving, included Vin Diesel as the Dominic Toretto. Toretto is realizing in the fire weather retirement, leaving off the big score of the previous movie in the franchise when is called back into the survive as it were by Luke Hobbs, the frontal agent who both purchased and they admire him and his hand of the recognize. Hobbs is again played by Diana Johnson and his bicycle which get enough camera time that you accept closing credit to include two arm wonkless, one for each. Mr. Johnson has seemingly been in every movie released in the last 2 years and has a Hobbies is again played by Diana Johnson and his biceps, which get enough camera time that you accept the closing credit to include two arm wankless, one for each. Mr. Johnson has seemingly been in every movie released in the last 2 years and has a reality television show, the hero coming on TNT, but he knows how to deploy his half-dozen experience, the sleek grind, the single eyebrow arch, and is still a welcome slide where other actors might by this point to be the overexposed. He also does not hijack this movie the way these characters did not the recent CGI. Joe relationship Fast and Furious 6 is still primarily about the Toretto and his buddies. It is no spoiler to say that Michael, recognized seemingly like off in an earlier film, returned as the Letty or Nice. She is in the opening credits. Toretto tough as the nail love instant. The gimping here is that she now working for the opposing. Fast and Furious 6 is still primarily about Toretto and his buddies. It is no spoiler and his buddies. It is no spoiler to say that Michael, recognized seemingly killed off in an earlier film, written as the Letty Ortiz. She is in the opinion credits. Toretto tough as the nails love instant. The gimmick here is that she now working for the oppositions. Magnus led by the own Shah, Locke Evans. Oh, and she was enemies and he does not remember Toretto. That provides just enough plot to propel the movie from car chases to car chases. The real question here is the whether Justin Lin, the director of this film and these of its predecessor, can top himself. The climatic sequence of his Fast 5 involved a pre-poster scenes in which races toward a giant bag wallet through the street at high speed. Here Mr. Lin offered 2 tickets. The bad guys have flip cars, sleek machines whose armor-plated front ends are Scene in which race cars toward a giant bag volley through the street at high speed. Here Mr. Lin offers two tickets. The bad guys have flip cars, slick machines whose armor plated from ends are designed so that when they strike another vehicles it goes spinning through the air, and in a later chases, Shah and the friends pull out of the flammable tank that he runs away, and the vehicle hits the encounter into the suicide scrap metal. This flashes smashes and a climactic sequence in which the good guys try to prevent Shah from the taking off in an airliner by the turning their cars to it makes the movie a satisfying thriller ride, at least on a par with the earlier installment. A nice twist near the end is well disgusting, and a quote hints at the words to come in the part 7. Fast and Furious 6 is rated PG-30. Parents strongly continue. It's a danger driving clinic. It's a dangerous driving clinic. Fast and Furious 6 review. The poster for Fast and Furious 6 declared that all roads lead to this, but they also lead home in this latest entry in the series, and the last from the series, ventured director Justin Lin for the No Anyone way. Faced with the bankless take of the trying to top Fast 5, seriously how many franchises can say their best film was the fifth one. Furious 6, as the movie is little in the opening credits, aims to offer more international scenery, and the mind-blowing car stunts, even and its stores tries to bring the characters full circle while also setting up future adventure. That's a lot for any sequel to bite off to chew. But the Furious 6 largely pull it off, even it never quite matches or suspends the rising height of the Fast Five. Still that not to say, it is not a hell of a lot of fun. Furious 6 is basically round up the gang, Western where the outfields, Vin Denzel, Paul Walker, Tercy Gibsons, and the Gal Gadot are the only ones who can help their former lawman and Ventry. Devani Johnson Beck as the DSS agent Leo Hobbs tracked down an event-force criminal, former British Special Forces soldiers on Shah, who is pulling off a series of distant auto-centric crime. As the saying goes, it takes a thief to catch a thief, so Hobbs approach his Fast Five forces for help. Hobbs has one very big incense for the Dom Toretto and his crew to agree to the job beside full presence so they can return to the USA. Don't blame Letty Michaels. Roddy guys presume that in the 14th film Fast and Furious is actually alive and is surviving as a member of. As the saying goes, it takes a thief to the catch a thief, so Hobbs approach his Fast Five force for help. Hobbs has one very big incense for the Dom Toretto and his crew to agree to the job beside full paradown so they can return to the USA. Don't blame Letty Michaels. Road guys presume that in the fourth film Fast and Furious is actually alive and serving as a member of the Shah gang. Dom and the team set out to stop Shah and they bring Letty back home. While Furious 6 offers some new faces to the franchise, included Grano as the Hobbs as kicking partner really. Its primary focus is on the past and the brightening the character stories full circle. Let's know the only blast from the past here. I want to say who else returns, but these climax should definitely praise though we have been fans of the series since the beginning. That's not to say Furious 6 does not also have the future on its mind. Some characters a craze reach their conclusions while big seeds are the also planted forward might come next for the rest. The highlights of any Fast and the Furious film is of course the car scenes. Furious 6 is not disappointed in this department, but Fast has pushes the filmmakers. The highlights of any Fast and the Furious film is, of course, the car scenes. Furious 6 is an disappointed in this department, but Fast has pushes the filmmakers to make the set pieces even more outgorgeous and over the top. A car devises out of the nose of a crashing plane for Pite's sake, and this after a near 50 minutes long chases down what must be the world's longest runway. Seriously, this runway is likely 80 miles 80 miles long. Still is there one movie to see this year where a cargo plane is taken down by sports car and the Harapon guns, where this is the only one. Beside that, the climactic sequence, the B-side, other car action scenes are taken chases and the introduce of the sharp flip car. There are some other car chases, but they feel a bit at a certain point. How many times can you see a car chases through London? These are moment or two where they speed There's a moment or two where they speed into the rotunds or the roundabouts or roundabouts, if you will, where you did be hard presents not to hear Clark, girls word look kids, big band, parliament in your head. There are few stables, a humor that fall a bit flat, as well as a few antimacial gigs at hobbies, upper micro dialogues, and more than a few oh come on moments to be had. But the good and the fun outweigh the drawbacks here. Fast and Furious 6 is a crew pleaser and one the craft feat and extreme dedications to the canon. There are a few steps, a humor that full a bite flat, as well as a few undimensional gigs at the hobbies, other micro dialogues, and more than a few oh come on moments to be had. But the good and the fun outweigh the drawbacks here. Fast and Furious 6 is a crowd pleaser, and when crafted with the and extreme dedications to canon, seriously, the Fast and the Furious has canon now. It's a muscular and the often accelerating thriller ride, but the Furious 6 show that the series is becoming more like the cars in it. Super turbocharged, loud and the metal. The movie deserves kudos for kicking the focus on its family of characters, but the seriously is probably only good for one last outing before the tanks completely empty. Fast and Furious 6 existing slowly to brings about genetic action sequence such as a tank speeding down. Fast and Furious 6 box office facts, from being highest grossing F and F film to crossing MCU Thor, The Dark World. After storming the worldwide box office with Fast 5 in 2011, the marks of Fast and the Furious came up with its the sixth installment in 2013. Fast and Furious 6 was accepted to set new benchmark for the franchise, and that what did it. Justin Lin continued to help them the super successful franchise as a director. The film had Vin Denzel, Paul Walker, Diana Johnson, Jordana Brewster, and the Tracy Gibson in lead among others. Justin Lin continued to help them the super successful franchise as a director. The film had Vin Denzel, Paul Walker, Gianna Johnson, Jordan Bristles, and the Tracy Gibson in lead among the others. Let's have a look at the some of interesting box office fact about the film. When it's come to Hollywood, don't we just love watching our favorite vacational hero in a parable or the sequel? Well, that's exactly the charm of the franchise film. After all, why should the freedom just stop at one film, right? Cinema has presented us with the countless movie franchises that make us wait for the next film like it's the most important things of our lives, be it sequel, paraquels, a spin-off, or a Robert. Franchises have hooked us to our screen in way we could have never even have imagined. So without any further ado, here are 5 franchises that you can start watching to experience a journey that's far longer than the one movie. 24 films over a 58 years legacy, with the 25 movie just a few months away. If we were ever talking about one of the most popular movie franchises that makes cinephiles go crazy, James Bond Survival has to be at the very top of that list. Be it Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Prico Bosson, or the super survivor Daniel Craig, a James Bond movie. 24 films over a 58 years legacy with the 25 movie just a few months away. If we were ever talking about one of the most popular movie franchises that makes Cannibal go crazy, James Bond surely have to be at the very top of that list. Be it Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Price Person, or the super survivor Daniel Craig, a James Bond movie nearly fails to keep one at the edge of their seat for more than just a British secret agent. 007 is all things cakes and the classy with chassis sequence. Even evil villains and the exotic locations. Don't we just love watching the man in a debater suit coming out of his the Aston Martin to ship a vodka martina that second and got stride? Oh yes, we do. After 5 long years, we will get to see the 25 film in the franchise featuring the beloved Daniel Craig for last time his November as he star in Number One Time to Die. Safe to say the excitement in unreal. Safe to say the excitement is unreal. While we read about these creatures in our history book, it was the stellar director Stephen Spielberg who immersed us in the world of this Oscar with the 1993 film Jurassic Park that was based on the Michael. While we read about these the creatures in our history book, it was the stellar director Stephen Spielberg who embraced us in the world of the dinosaurs with the 1993 film Jurassic Park that was based on the Michael Crichton book by the same name. What followed after that were four fabulous films that took us to the paranormal area of these the creatures. Fans of the franchise are in our retreat artistic world. Damania hits screen next year, with the marks revealing that the film won't be the final film in the franchise. We can't wait to see what lies in the shore with feature film. Fast and Furious 6 hangs onto the first place at the box office. Fast and Furious 6 has raised to the number one spot at the box office for the second consecutive weekend. The Universal Picture Reels is expected to add another 34.5 million to its North American ticket sales, keeping in its the first place after opening to more than $120 million over the Memorial Day holiday weekend. Box office analyst Paul Dagan said the sixth installment in the state tracking. Box office analyst Paul said the sixth installment in the state tracking franchise was Parodian to be number one again, but in a season of sequel, three original films were among the most popular at the cinema over the weekend. Ordinary Summer and the sequel go together, he said. This is a step in the direction of the Oigantally. Box office Anil Piol said the sixth installment in the street reacting franchise was Priodana to be number one again, but in season of sequel, three original films were among the most popular at the cinema over the weekend. Ordinary Summer and sequel go together, he said. This is a step in the direction of the Oi Gently. Among the new original offering was the Magic herself thriller Now You See Me with star Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine and Woody Harrison in a tale of the innovations who rob bank and share the spoils with their audience. The long stage cement entertainment release executed industry expectations to debut in second place with the $28.1 million. It certainly has been magic for us to watch the number this weekend, said Richard Fay, long stage president of the domestic distribution, who attributes the film's success to a brilliant marketing campaign and the positive word of mouth. After Earth, the frustrated Capper Catering father and the son acting duo Will Smith and the Jaden Smith open to $27 million, good for the third place, but still disappointed for Sony Pictures. It's below our expectations here domestically, said Roe Beller, Sani president of the worldwide distribution, but he anticipated it will play well but they anticipated it will play well overseas. We feel very good about the potential of the film on a worldwide basis, he said. It will open 60 countries next week. Fox animated epic and the Paramount Star Trek Into the Darkness tied for the month place with $60.4 million each, while The Hangover Part 3 came in fifth with the $50.9 million. Also ending into the top 10 Also ending into the top 10 was the Indian film. Also ending into the top 10 was Indian film Ye Jawani Hai Diwani. It opened in 162 theaters in the United States and the Canada Friday and they earned $1.6 million good for the 8th place. It's very unusual but the Bollywood films sometimes do crack into the top 20 or top 50 domestically. Degrabians say they are usually not in that many theaters but they makes a big splash. Estimated ticket sales for the Friday through the Sunday at the USA and the Canadian theaters according to Hollywood.com where available latest international numbers are also included. Final domestic figures will be released Monday. Fast and Furious 6 review. Suspend disbelief and enjoy the ride. When the sixth installment on the Universal Premier franchise feed to back, I turned to the cities next to me and told him this interior series is a great guilty pleasure. To which he promptly responds, I am not guilty about anything. I love this movie as I consider that for a to which he promptly responds, I am not guilty about anything. I love this movie as I consider that for a moment he was on to something. Fast and Furious has moved way beyond the point of being something to feel guilty about leaking. Fast and Furious has moved way beyond the point of being something to feel guilty about liking, in which one box office surprise went on to become one of the biggest action-oriented franchises of all time, to something to passionate embrace if you are a fan while still being able to see beyond its surface level flaws. Where most studio may turn one success into a tragedy, this has become a 12 years odyssey Odysseus, which has evolved way beyond its original concept. What started out as a unique idea about the bonds made throughout street tracking has remolded itself to be an action adventure series where the idea of the family and keeping it together through incredible odds Obstance and the obvious pattern variation is the paramount. It also has a water military where the principal star become outless, having to float there. What started out as a unique idea about the bonds made throughout street racing has the remodeled itself to be an action adventure series where the idea of the family and keeping it together through the incredible odds obstance and the obvious speeding variation is paramount. It also has a western mentality where the principal star become outlaws, having to flee their homeland the USA to avoid oppressions. Along the way, aliens are met and Naposis emergence, full of distant personalities. They are overall led by Dominic Toretto, a cute Bell Street reactor who lives his life by a quarter of a mile, but values family and the loyalty over any lucrative score, taking its B-movie title The Fast and the Furious and dragging with it to the truth degree. We now arrive with the fifth sequel, Furious 6. This is according to the title card at the end of the opening taking its B-movie title The Fast and the Furious and running with it to the ninth degree. We now arrive with the fifth sequel, Furious 6. This is according to the little card at the ending of the opening credit. If you have stuck with the series since the beginning, then your ticket purchase is all about but abused. To be honest, I have got to tip my hat if I was weighing one to team of the director Justin Lin and the screenwriter Caris Morgan. Lin came on the board at the wrong time and directed the Halloween 3 entry in the series. Red Where Are Hell in the Wenzel and the Paul Walker. With the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, this is the sequel that is mostly forgotten, making it the re-headed spiritual of the bunch, but together they made it work. The three interior Byron in the line arrival have been included in the sequel in some shape or the fashions, rather than push line out and go through a revolving door of the directors with sequel 4.5 with sequels 4, 5 and now 6. Studio Universal has led rather than push line out and go through a revolving door of the directors with sequel 4, 5 and now 6. Studio Universal has let line spared the series and see it movie in such a rising up fizzing it would make the workers on Wall Street light-headed, getting progressively forced. As is the case with the most franchise, line has managed to the completely fine-tune it's from originally models and spare part to create one of the best Territon filed action movie franchise going today. It's just a shape the Universal is too eager to strike, while the iron is hot for the seventh entry. Yes, Diesel and Co. has not ridden into the sunstand just yet, which is settled to arrive in 2014 July. Justin Lin is out and now James Wan Sir Indivis is in the drive seat in Fast 5, which could be best classified as the average of the F and the F franchise in terms of how Line infantry brings everything together. Diana Johnson came on board as Luca Hobbs and the international law efforts that has in Fast 5, which could be best classified as the average of the F and the F franchise in terms of how lean Infantile brings everything together. Diana Johnson came on the board as the Lucia Hobbies, an international law reference that has been classing after Taranto and his criminal posses. Ditching Street reacting in the favor of the Kinetic Caper movie help in the refining the series, making it a globetrotting adventure of the vehicles mayhem. By the end of that film, Dom Brian O'Connor and the rest of the crew, his wife Mia Jordan Brewster, who is able Dom's sister Eliana Neves, Kaisel Han, Seoul or Roman Teach are living comfortably after doing one last job, but then Hobbs come back into their living with a partner in tour. Railway and ex-MMA settles Kiana Cannon in need of his team assistant in the upending on shop, an ex-British. An ex-MMA stellar Gianna Carno in need of his team's assistant in the upending on shop, an ex-British special operative now master thief to give Dom a reason to crew Hobbs, show him how some photo of Letty Curtis, domestic laws believe that if you saw Fast and Furious 4 in the series Lady Love, okay, so Furious 6 operators like a soap opera with the Lady Death and the mysterious reappearance. Going with that, noting the film pushes the envelope, inviting you to suppose disbelievable when it comes to people and car physics. But Justin Lin is so surfeit that he has total self-awareness of the characters, their motivations, and making us believe the impossible to be the possible. Chase Morrigan's screenplay is the journally ridiculous, full of the quirks and the crack wise, and gives off the appearance that the characters may totally be a beloved class of the average. One of them is even identified with the nickname totally indestructible. The film has good rhythm throughout with a quick setup leading to the band getting back together before having everything go over the top, explosive, flipping cars and more harder brain chain gains. The interplay of the characters' movement and crazy stunt allow the audience to decompose before movie on the to next. Oh, they are not going to do what I think they are going to do stunt. To later learn that Len spent the better part of 4 years concepting a particular action sequence that appear in Furious 6. I am that much more impressed with him as a director. Line went from a great directing debut with the better leg tomorrow. Become a filmmaker that become very good at the shooting action scenes. Be they a car chases or a cat fight, Furious 6 content both. It's hard to decide on why this series works as well as it does. A larger part has to do with the Vine Denzel. He definitely has screen presence, but it only seems to survive him in films like this and as the characters Riddick in the Pitch Black. The correctness of the Reddick and the upcoming Reddick flank soul his film out it the mostly miss compared to Heat, the Paul Walker experiment with the Too Fast and the Too Furious Force. Interesting, but this is the definitely Diesel franchise. It revolves around him, and because his zeal for the family and togetherness, he makes us care for those around him that much more. There are moments where I got catch up in the action, almost wanting to deliver first pumps in the air with the admiration. As impressive as the action is in Line Man 3, this is the better. While the final sequence is highly improbable, it is so well standard that it revolves around him, and because his zeal for the family and togetherness, he makes us care for those around him that much more. There are moments where I got caught up in the action, almost waiting to deliver first bump in the air with the admission as impressive as the action in an is in Iron Man 3. This is the battle. While the final sequence is highly improbable, it is so well standard that it's best to just go with it and enjoyable for what it is. It may not rival to winning a Gynec Warrior throughout Ryodu Jr. in Fast 5, but it has the right beat of the tension that a laser action director would fail to achieve. With the right mix of the emotional beats and the impressive set pieces and stunt work, Fury 6 deliver in this span. It may not match the previous sequel, but the filmography will walk out with a good vibe for that the future holds in the store. Stay and watch the mid-credit tease that will mostly assured. There are moments where I got catch up in the action, almost waiting to deliver first bumps in the air with the admission as impressive as the action is in Iron Man 3. This is better. While the final sequence is highly improbable, it is so well staged that it is the best to just go with it and enjoy it for what it is. It may not rival to winning a Gynec Warrior throughout your two genre in the first 5, but it has the right bite of the tension that a laser action director would fail to achieve with the right mix of the emotional beats and the impressive set pieces and stunt work. Furious 6 deliver in the speeds. It may not match the previous sequel, but the filmography will walk out with the good vibes for what future holds in store. Stay and watch the mid-credit tease that will most assuredly have audience going bonkers. Movie review: Fast and Furious 6. So dynamic Teredo and his crew are back. Luke Hobbs, Diana Johnson and his crew are back, and some new faces. Hobbs' partner Rayleigh and villain On Sharp. DD to the franchise's ever-growing roster. I thought the vast number of the characters would be too much of a distraction in the last installment, and to an extent it was, but I like Fast 5 and I am happy to say that 6 is even better. The premiere is all but necessary. Hobbs rescued Teredo to take down Sharp. A gangster terrorist arms declare whose call is not particularly clear, but then it does not need to be, does it? Charlotte's plan is to Charlotte's plan is to steal a military vessels that can cause blackouts and his gang of thugs. The minute you met them seems like the evil twins of the Territo, and it's credit to the movie cleverness that the city actually addressed the parallels and get some great characters. Pete in front Roman, Tatis, Gabison, and Teach. Two fellows whose role in the previous film were to stand around and wait for some things to do. Hope's carrot is a photo of the Tato former lover Letty, knowing that Tato, big softy that he is now, won't be able to resist. Oh, catching up old flame. You did wonder why she never returned to call him when he figures her dead but apparently she under a nasty bond of the enemies and big reveal she working for the SWAT teams. And O Corner, Paul Walker Territo brother-in-law, has a baby. The rest of them have not done much since their big reels. She working for the short teams. And O Corner, Territo brother-in-law has a baby. The rest of them have not done much since their big score in the Rio. Save spent their cash and the back in the Poland's for those keeping count. Han Song Kong and his gal Gazelles round out the rest. So Tarito and his gang had to London engage Shah and his group in a great chase sequence and discover Letty among the near do wells. There are usual explosive crashes where cars. Shah custom job has a modified Q catchers which he used to blast other Ethan out of the way or to stand over top of his own vehicles and an interesting weapon that once shoot at cat which he used to blast other eight out of the way or to straight over top of his own vehicles, and an interesting weapon that once shoot at the hood of a car can be used to slam the brakes. It's a great idea, but it's never show up again. Shah gets away, so Taito and Co. go on recon, leading to a great fight between Rayleigh and the Letty and the Tate Roman and Shah to Stotch. J did mention Joe telling Jar redemptions, Joe Taslim in a tube stations and a bike later Taito and Letty Sequire off at one of the London underground raking events. Why one exacting is an oddity, especially since the characters often point out how there are camera monitoring every corner of the city and then there. Basically a movie like this exists for the action, the fact cars, the characters and the explosive fact and the Furious 6 delivers. The story barely sticks together even if you are to ignore it. Just how drama long is that runway in the last part, but its action sequences are less erratic. Director Justin Lin has picked up a few things in inter between this and Furious 5. The characters work together so much more. Well, they are already work, but we get to spend some more times with them and the cars while they are close to being went in are used with just enough cleverness that they justifies the scenes even when nothing in the script does. For a series that could and likely is often written off as big doom action, few others who share a similar discussions continue to improve like the Fast and Furious franchise. It knows where it's going and at every market it presses the gaze just a little harder. And please give Roman and the Tej their own spin-off. Fast and Furious 6 review. When Luke Hobbs makes this assistant of the fellow domestic security service agent Railway Hicks, he might as well be making an assistant of Fast and Furious 6. On paper, it's going everything you could possibly want out of a Fast and Furious movie. Team Territor in full force, the return of the Michaels, Rodriguez as Letty, a slew of bad guys led by Luke's even an international setting that sees our heroes and the villains reacting all over Europe. One final ride with the Frenchies veteran Justin Lin, the list go on. But just as Hicks herself was too good to be the trust, is the same true of Frenchie's 6? Is there something missing about the sixth round of the Fast and Furious action? For my money, I will say that I enjoy Furious 6 more than Fast 5, the close cousin of the 2013 editing of the franchise. It's a more constant ride, entertaining all throughout, each and every scenes worth watching again and again and again. But there is not a single moment higher than the height of Fast 5. No hobbies various. Tattoo match up to speak of. No violent height throughout the streets of Rio de Janeiro. Those two scenes alone are enough to make the argument that the Fast Five is best in the series. That said, the lowest moment of the Furious 6 stand taller than Fast 5 low. There's no dice. Occasion 11 here, it's all speed, all fury all the time, where Fast 5 had to spend half its run time positions the plot to bring Roman Priest, Ty Parker, Hans Yule, and Gazel Yasher into the mix. These characters are all in the place From the very first moment of Furious 6, more importantly, Hobbs himself in the firmly established, it takes no time at all to remind audience about Diana Johnson pure unabashed awesomes as the impossible muscle DSS agent. His quirks and one-liners are the fewer and the further between in his second Furious appearance, though he still has some winners like last place I want to be is on your front step selling Girl Scout cookies, but at least he on Team Territo from very beginning, affording Johnson the opportunity to interact with members of the squad he has not yet minded with. His scenes with the Tej and the Roman, for instance, are the pure comedy gold. Really, in the mixing and the matching of the team Tareto plays that makes Furious 6 stand out from it. The Predexter Hobbs and the Tej join forces to purchase a bunch of sweet rice and make the salesman look and feel like the indie quiet champs that he is. Han and the Roman get to participate in one of the close fight scenes of the series, squaring off against Has, play by the right, Redemption, Sweat and Joe Taslim, Lynn and the winner Garrison Morrigan impressions the various dynamic at play within the Tareto family, not just Brian and the Dome, and it makes the world and the characters feel richer as a result, even if these particular lines of the band won't remain instant past this movie. While these sparking work, they do come at the expense of the Dom and the Brian dynamic. Their friendship takes a backseat in the Furious Six as Dom, wordless with the trying to stop and the enemies, Letty from running with the wrong crew and the brain does, well not a love. He is a new father, but that not a huge factor in the movie. Not until Mia become a damsel in the distress in the final act. Should I give kudos to the franchise for waiting six movie to turn Mia into the kidnapped princess in the castle? It's not a great look for the Mia. I will say that much. It's a shame that there's so little for the brain and the dom to do together, especially since our time with the brain is about to run out with the Furious 7. That said, what more is there to do with these characters? They are solid with each other. Their trust is the resort, their faith in each other, loyalty, and the ability staunch than a tank. Perhaps Furious 6 is just the point in the franchise where the dome and the brain thing is exactly what it's always going to be. Not to say there is not beating heart in this movie. It's just not between Brain and the Dom. Instead, it's Tom and the lady as Tereto tries to rescue his former flame from the flaming out, while Lady herself struggles with the very obvious reality that she had history with the Dom once upon a time but can't remember a lick of it, even without her memories. Lady she the same lady as the always tough as nails take no sense from anyone disobeys authority figures even when it's potentially at her own determine. Having Radigoy speak in the line is very good things indeed, and her scenes are some of the best in the whole movie. Beyond Dom and the Letty, the other big emotional beats belong to Han and the Geisel. Going into the movie, I know Furious 6 would be our last race around the track with the series finally catching up to his Tokyo Drive times, but I had no idea this would be Gisel's final lap to her death near the end of the movie. A sacrifice played to the save Han's life was a total shock, especially brutal, knowing that they were just about to settle down for the kind of life Brain and Mia were settling into, and B. Geisel is sacrificed herself for a man who is weeks, if not days, away from death. Door himself, perhaps there's some things comforting about Han and the Giesel both winding up in the same place, but regardless, it was a left turn I did not see coming at all. If I am honest, Giesel death is a big part of why I prefer Furious 6 over Fast 5, even if I am not sure I did call it the superior movie. But here, in the sixth film in the franchise, we lose a core member of Team Territory in a random act of the violence, with no time for the countless, no attempts at apologize. It just happens, and it happens knowing full Will that hands they are compared to impress two important pieces are suddenly off the brand. It's not something you see is more successful. Well, all it franchise movie in a Transformer movie. Chance are he will be alive again by the time the credit roll. And while death has not always been permanent in the Fast and Furious franchise, just ask Letty. It's hard to picture how Han and the Gazelle could roar back to life after the fairly definite depiction of their final moments. In other words, Fury 6 Heart, it has meaningful victory for the villains, not just the heroes. The movie have heart, they have hostel, they have unbelievable action, the like of which you won't get anywhere else. The tank bursting out of a truck and onto a highway, and Tom's car similarly breathing out of the nose of an airplane are two of the most intense images I will ever seen in an film. But just as important, they have cast. The Fast and Furious movie boasts a refreshing villains to break the best toy in the toy box. Conquest and your feeling be demand. That's my big takeaway. Leaving Fury 6, and it's a frightening perspective to consider now that there's only one movie left with the pure sparkle in it. Movie review Fast and Furious 6. Dom and the brain arrive at the hospital just in time for the Mia birth. Life is going well for the tattoo client is the work of a real job. Dom is living with the Elena and the starting over. Everything is flipped upside down when the Hobbs show up with a photo of the Letty taken days prior. Letty is in the employ of the international terrorist Owen Shah and is the Hook Hobbs need to get Tato crew to help him out. The team travels to London where they being to uncover a larger scale plan to construct a device that could cripples an interior nation's defines network. The clock is ticking as Tom attempts to get Lady back and stop Shah. Plan in their plan in their tracks. Getting through the Fast and Furious film is beginning to feel like a slog now, but I am soldiering on to make to the eighth. This is not a triple movie, but it is the tribally forgettable except for the two action set pieces, changing the story to one about taking down a Getting throughout the Fast and Furious film is beginning to feel like a slog now, but I am soldiering on to make to their eighth. This is not a triple movie, but it is the triply forgettable except for two action set pieces. Changing the story to one debut taking down a terrorist is an interesting twist. It puts the characters in a new local. Through these settings come across very bland. The farewells were a much more interesting place to see on the screen. The Rock is always good because the seems to bring an interstands to the role of the Hobbs. This is the most superheroic characters he ever played as the evidence in the certainly superhumans battle on the airplane. Getting crazier with the sum of the plot elements is a good thing. They use a ridiculous way to bring Letty back animals just like in a soap operas. But we know it will all be revolved in the third act. The end credit scenes then the completes the timeline. Justin Lin begin with the Tokyo Drive was a nice touch. The incense fact that the Hopes pull a gun on a NATO journal to let a know terrorist laws to keep Mia safe. The airplane set pieces for the kind of the incident that makes the film have even an idyll of the enjoyment. It was so ridiculously and over the top. The fight on the plane and the inside the plane is ludicrous and the silly. If the rest of the series has more of this moment, then they will be tolerable. Just Line is a decent director, and having seen Star Day Beyond, I know the problems with the Fast and Furious do not rest in. The airplane set pieces was the kind of instant that makes the film an even and the idol of the enjoyment. It was so ridiculously and over the top, the fight on the plane and the inside, ludicrous and the silly. If the rest of the series has more of these moments, then they will be tolerable. Jocelyn is a decent director, and having seen Star Day Beyond, I know the problem with the Fast and Furious do not rest in his hands. The big problem with this franchise is loyalty. Just Morgan, the writer having seen Lynn at their work, I know they can do characters well if he's giving the right material. To look at the Morgan IMDb page is to view a light of the Medicourse. The things that falls to draw me in with all of these movie is that Bradley and the characters have an air, and the ones that do show zero characters growing hand only RS the moment is the death of the Geisel. Morrigan IMDb pages to view a list of the med course. The starting that falls to draw me in with all of these movies is that barely any characters have an Eric, and the ones that do show zero character's growth, and only our moment is the death of the Geisel, and that is the merely to get him to Tokyo. Roman and the Teach have no arcs. Mia has no arc, and they continue to be a living pop. Brain has no arc. It is the increasingly difficult to care about these characters when there is no work done to develop them. Alan Tom Lover at the start of the film is much more interesting than most of these characters, and if you think Tom has an Eric, what would it be? He learned now important family is something he has every family I am getting as anyone with Dom family stucking as I did with the Spider-Man. Great power, great personality, them beings humored over and the over. Also Mia should have dies inside of the Giesel Wu was an infinitely more interesting characters. So the argument might be that the film is not true. The film is not so serious, but tell the movie that Dom is a harmless, uncooked, duff bell of the faking Wu numbers through his dialogues, and he never feels like he's executing a genuine emotions. Brain is second when it comes to anyone dumb. Uninteresting protagonists, neither of them does anything interesting or funny. Roman and the Tej, reckless cannot make up for the lead actress. Never feels like he's extending a genuine emotion. Brain is second when it comes to anyone dumb. Uninteresting protagonist, neither of them does anything interesting or funny. Roman and Tej Whiskers cannot make up for the lead actors in human performance. These two are the best part of the film, but they need the lead roles to make the overall film enjoyable. At the point, I am just happy there are only two of these left to get thoughts. For the next movie, they get the crew back together and fight Jason Statham apparently or something. No one crew changed or learned anything, and I managed to only remember that final action set pieces. Since Tom Diesel and the Brain Walker rear heights top a kingpin empire and left their crew much $100 million, our heroes have scattered across the global, but their inability to return home and living forever on the lamp have left their lives incomplete. Meanwhile, hobbies chosen has been trekking and the organized let's skill. I could probably take about this movie in the length and fact already have about the franchise as a whole. When I wrote up my Why Fast and Furious 7 is going to kick ass article a while back. Yes, if you don't know, already there is a seventh and the final film along the way in 2014. The most picks up where the franchise left off as a small nod to Brain Paul Walker asking Dom Wine Diesel for a head appraise when on when to settle. Who is the fattest between the two of them? If you are a fan of the characters, you are already in the theaters watching at this point. Maybe you are rooting for the Brain, or maybe you are rooting for Dom to win, or maybe you are just rooting for the Turnerverse muscular car, or maybe you don't care and you are just along for the ride. But that what these movies are, and they have become little in notes and notes to the previous film and maybe the film before that or even the film before that. We are along for the ride, and in this case Brain and Tom are rushing to the hospital as Mia is about to give in birth. Another storyline being tied up from 2011 Fast 5. Meanwhile, halfway across the global, we are being reintroduced to Agent Hobbs, Diana Johnson, who is now partnered up with the really Gianna Corner as they track down international criminal On Shah and his own crew of the associate which somehow includes a resorted Letty, which is a nod to the after credit scenes from the Fast Five, where everyone in your audience let out a collective word F and TK. And that how the storyline ties itself together as Letty Sportley died in the Fast and the Furious 2009. It's simple, reasoning, and enough to drive the entire crew to be there for one another on principle, and there is a familiar beauty to it. It's a relatable notice, not that going globally with the fact car is the norm. But there is a sheer balance to the relevance with the Charles Morgan written and the Justin Lin director have been working on character-wise since 2006, the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, which is now canon, and again it's probably the singular reasons why you are watching this movie. You love the characters. Vine Denzel put it best when they were planning Fast 5. They wanted to do the characters justice, except when they put pen to paper the overchatting storyline was so big they division everything into sequel because it was just so much. But it's a car to characters really seen in the film, especially when a franchise becomes storied. I think it's something even the Harry Potter franchise failed it, as they were as are missing details in my opinion that could have popped up the characters there are pattern. Even 12 did it better I thought. And it's something we are also witness with the Marvel and their ongoing universe. At the end, a part of it become one part not a gloss and maybe another part source material. So in all the ways I compare and the contract those movie, I am looking simply at why people keep going to see sequel. You have grow to like in no particular order Dom Brain, Roman Han Tija, Gaisalmiya, Letty, etc. Every character that has been introduced into his franchise, they are fun to watch. Its level of the constance and the simply and the oddly movie about fat cars. It says to its root. It says to its roots, is not without its convents, but does not shy away from them. It's pretty amazing to see how far these movies have come along since The Fact and the Furious come out in 2001. I mean really it's been over a decade and we are now at the our sixth installment. And again really the thought out of the string out fact cars, cool characters, story typical action into seven film. I will be the first to acknowledge that it's a stranger attraction these films have created, but that the point. Insanity and any other associated adjective can be attributed to the Fast and Furious franchise because simply that franchise as a whole is the very definition of the guilty pleasure. I know it is for me and I am ashamed to admit it. It's almost to a point of the basic and that what makes writing this review so fun. But that right there is the entertainment of it. It is the simply way we are watching a soap opera with the romantic action and the character designs, the ideology of having everything you want but it not being enough, some place to call home, friendship, loyalty, and the family. All of that is the relatable when a film leaves you wanting more. I think a movie has done its job, and that's fair, and that's what Furious 6 did. And just when you think the gas had not been pushed hard enough, this film still has its mid credit scenes where this time your audience will let out to a collective whole sigh. Because I hate first at the table, I will say the grace. Thank you for summer movie popcorn midnights and above all the else. Thank God for fact cards. Okay, that might have been a little corner, but whatever. Hobbs has Tom and the brand assemble their crew in order to take down a mastermind who commands and the organization of mercenary drives across 12 countries. Payment full paradown for them all. Justin Lin, director for Fast and Furious 6, is spot on again for the most part. It's action packed once again, which leaves a lot room for the Lin to play with his camera movement and give his characters a chance to show us how baddies they really are. The opening scene set an authentic, fantastic, while Paul Walker and the Van Denzel character race through their narrow winding road, which is what we accept from the franchise. However, nothing set to the top of the film like the opening scene set to authentic fantasy. Then Paul Walker and the Vine Diesel character rate throughout this the narrow winding road which is what we accept from the franchise. However, nothing said to tone of the film like the opinion title sequence. It's a glorious moment with the clips from all of the previous film in order to give you a short snipe of where they come from and where they are going to go. On top that is the amazing dance song to the film that I will take about more below in the score sections. The being 20 minutes are incredible as the film progresses and you find more action. The camera has these long tracking, sweeping motion that I love and the everything you accept from line in these the franchise. There are also good dose of the hand-to-hand combined in this movie. Must like is Fast 5 and it's executed extremely well. Line gets great performance out of his actress, which I will also go into there. Hair shortly and his muscular choices are perfect. The biggest problem I have with this film, much like I did with the Fast Five and some of the other films too, is that for a series that mostly based in the reality, there are some action sequences that are way too over the top and the unrealistic and I can't get. This is not Iron Man, yet we have people flying throughout the air and doing things you had only see Tony Stark performance out of his actress, which I will also go into here shortly, and his muscular choices are perfect. The biggest problem I have with this film, much like I did with the first and the five, and some of the other film too, is that for a series that mostly based in the reality, there are some action sequences that are way too over the top and the unrealistic, and I can't get on board with it. This is not Iron Man, yet we have people flying through the air and doing things you had only see Tony Stark or that universe be able to pull off outside of that crescent. This is a solid film and line is the amazing again and I cannot go into it. But the teaser for the next film in the ending title sequence is unbelievable good. This is easily my favorite script and the story so far in the franchise. However, to be fair, I do like 5 script a lot too, and this script is pretty strong as it a byproduct of that movie. The relational elements are the amazing and extremely well written. Dramatic Taranto and the 11 are relaxing with the brain O'Connor and the Mia, who now have a son after their heist in the fifth film when they are. This is easily my favorite script and the story so far in the franchise. However, to be fair, I do like 5 script a lot too and this script is the pretty strong as it a byproduct of that movie. That relation elements are amazing and extremely well written. Dominic Toretto and the 11 are relaxing with the brain O'Connor and the Mia, who now have a son after their heist in the fifth film when they are surprised to learn that Toretto girlfriend's Letty is actually live. It's an amazing twist set up by the trailer, no spoiler there. That adds so much emotion and layers that brings this character to life. The chemistry between Vine Denzel and the Michael Rodgers is great and is the foundation of their motivation. Pure worker relationship with the both of them is also critical and odd something I think we will see more in the later film. In what is supposed to be an action movie, Fast and Furious 6 and Fast 5 are amazing to me because of these characters and the story, not the action. They are well written, extremely interesting, and a lot of fun to see on screen. However, let's not forget the rest of the gang. Ludarius Trice, Gibson Sung, Gang, Diana Johnson, and the Jordan Brewster characters are also well written. The dialogues between them is the brilliant and the hysterical, but most important, it keeps you engaged and you can't help but have a lot of fun with these characters. But what about Luke Evans? The dialogues between them is brilliant and the hysterical, but most important, it keeps you engaged and you can't help but have a lot of fun with these characters. But what about Luke even as a bad guy as interesting characters with some story typical lines of the dialogues and is the fitting for the film. I think even performance make the character much better on screen than he is on paper. Some of the plot points are the predictable and not too surprising, but you can't accept everything less out a film like this. I did say my favorite part though is how they weave in the elements from the other film into this one. The continue is a lot of fun. And they do it so well here, especially elements from Fast and 5, The Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drive without spoiling anything. If you've seen either of those films, you will know what I am talking about. Overall, I could watch these character interest with the each other and just drive car around with no action. And I did love it. Add some fun action into it, and I am all on the board for this story. The performances are incredible once again. Everyone is on their a game, and for some of these actors, this is the franchise they were born for. This is by far the best thing Stiesel ever been a part of, in my opinion. And he is in his element when he is on screen with his franchise. The dynamic between him and the Vulgar are as fun to me as any other dog out there. Laduria's Captain Gang and the Joseon are also traffic and belong here. The undarling them of this film is the family and doing anything it takes to love and to care for them, and that exactly how the actor interact with the each other. Six film will give you enough time to get to know on another though. As for events, their one shoot of his character's time are taken as for events, their one shot of his characters driven are taken down a highway crashing cars with the people inside them, and he just has this dirty similar on his face leaving you falling gross for his characters. Yeah, I did say that sums it up for him. Overall the performances are great and it's a lot of fun. Before I get into the soundtrack, the score by Lucia Weibel is staffing. There are a lot of intense starting and twins which add so much to the action pieces. I love what he does to add instantly to the film, especially where it needs to, and the score is good enough to give it a listen to outside of the film. As for the soundtrack is amazing and the probably that best of the whole franchise. The song We On It by Two Jason and Vice Khalifa is them song to the film and it's used perfectly. I love the song and it adds the right emotions and music authentic that the fifth Fast and Furious franchise really well.